Welcome everybody to BarSwap. My name's James, and in this video I'm going to talk about Keihin carbureted KTM 300s and how to make them run properly at altitude. I've had quite a bit of experience with this racing enduros in Colorado. We go all the way up to 13,000 feet at some of the races that we're in, and I have struggled immensely with getting this thing to run properly from the mid-range to the top end. It keeps stumbling on its face. I've come up with a solution that is actually pieced together information that I've found off YouTube, so I'm going to try to put all of it in one place for anybody that's interested in trying to make this thing work. The three things that you have to change on a KTM 300 to get it to run properly at altitude if you have a Keihin carburetor. You need to order pilot jets that go from 30 to 38. The manual is 100% wrong saying that you can run a 35 at all altitudes. You cannot do it. It won't ever run right. Second modification that you need to do, throw away all of your KTM needles and buy a Suzuki NECJ. At almost every altitude, I can run this in the third position. This one's in the fourth position right now. I don't think my camera will zoom in that close, but anyway, run it in the third position to start with. Air screw between 1.5 and 2 out, works almost everywhere, much more like a Yamaha YZ carburetor does. And then the final change that you need to make is to mill your slide. So this slide comes as a 9mm from the factory. You can mill it down to a 7mm. It will run much better at altitude. It gives it a little bit more airflow on opening, which creates a little bit stronger Venturi jet and gets that fuel moving a little bit faster so that you're not super lean on your transition from your idle jet to your mid. So the KTMs like to fall on their face right as they're coming out of idle and into a little bit of power. They kind of get this weird little bobble. And then at higher altitudes, mine would do it again, transitioning from mid to top. And these changes have completely eliminated it. So the milling process, you use this thing, you build some sort of jig to hold the height of this, clamp this thing down. This is just a 200 grit sanding wheel that you can buy anywhere. And then I would take a Dremel tool with a buffer pad and just clean this up when you're done. But you're just gonna mill it at the OEM angle, so you're not changing anything about the angle. All you're doing is dropping the depth. So you're gonna get this all set at your angle. This will all be clamped down. This is just a reference, and you're gonna sand this way. So you're gonna take it and go whoop, and sand this down 2mm. Until the bottom of this is either flush with the needle deck, or if you've got calipers and you can measure it, you're gonna take the face of this wall. So this wall right here, you're gonna take the face of this wall and you're gonna mill it from 9mm to 7mm. Very gently, you're gonna sand this thing like this. So you're gonna take just 2mm off of this. So it's not a whole lot. Like I said, it's aluminum. It sands down pretty quickly. So you can see kind of roughly what it looks like. This actually matches. So the diameter of this wheel almost identically matches the arc of the OEM slide. I wish that I had an OEM one that wasn't modified, but honestly at this point I don't own one because that one runs great at every altitude I run it at. So let me see if I can find some blocks real quick. I'll show you how I did this. All right. Quick disclaimer, this is really just for demonstration purposes so that you guys can see how I decided to jig this, but these blocks actually are too big for this purpose. But I would get 2 wood blocks that look something like this. I would probably pick them with smoother edges if I was going to be sanding on my carburetor slide with them, but nonetheless, so the slide's going to go in here on edge, and when you pinch these together, it raises and lowers the slide. So if you move the blocks closer together and then clamp them down, it'll raise it up. And if you spread them out a little bit, it'll lower it down. So you're gonna have to find 2 wood blocks that are gonna match the center of your slide somewhat closely to the center of your sanding wheel so that when you do this, it will all line up. But then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have your sanding wheel mounted like this, and it's gonna be clamped down. You're not freehanding any of this. I'm just doing this for the sake of demonstration. You're gonna turn this thing on, and this will be stationary, so it'll be running, and you're gonna take your slide and you're just gonna move it in and sand it, and then pull it off and check it. All right, so I was putting this thing back together and realized that there's a really good perspective that you can see here of what this is modifying. So when you mill that slide, what it's changing, let me find something here that I can point with. Here's an old cut-off zip tie. All right, so what you're changing when you modify this, so you're milling down this ramp right here, and what this ramp does is controls airflow over your main jet as the slide opens. So as this slide begins to open, you're getting airflow over that main jet, and by increasing the depth of this cut, so traditionally this cut would be down more, it would be blocking where your needle goes into your main jet a little bit more, by 2 millimeters. And what that 2 millimeter difference does is that it starts the airflow over your main jet just a little bit earlier as you transition from idle onto your mid, and then it also creates a harder flow at your mid, like your mid slide position. It's creating more airflow as it enters that midpoint. So it's fixing a lot of the transition problems that you have from your bottom end to your mid range, and then the change to the NECJ needle fixes the mid range to top end problems in combination with having the right idle jet. So I just wanted to throw this angle in there because I saw it putting the carburetor back together and realized that it does a really good job of showing what that slide cut actually is modifying. With that being said, again, this is James, and thank you guys for watching.